All right, Jeff Jarvis. Look who I got. I wanted to catch up on everything that's happening and talk to my friend. And I always love everything that he's posting and saying and talking about and writing and his numerous podcast appearances. He's just the perfect guy to talk to on my second day back to work after my mom's accident. He knows all about. Thank you very much for being available today. I have so many news issues and developments I want to discuss with you. Thank you.
But your mom's doing better. She's out of ICU, you said.
Mom is out of ICU, and she's getting spicy.
Good.
With everybody. She's cracking a lot of jokes. She's working blue, which I didn't expect, but that's what fentanyl.
Is it the drugs or is it mom's true nature?
It's mom's true humor with some of the words she might not have used prior. Maybe some of the gestures you might not have seen in previous appearances of mom.
My mother was a brittle diabetic, and she was hated when I used bad words. But when she had an insulin reaction, they came out of her.
Oh yeah. It's wild. It's a real truth serum. The experience itself is, but I just have to say, I mean, I'm going to talk more about this, but let me get your take on it. Anybody that works in a hospital, I don't care if you're security or maintenance or a physician or a nurse, and they're all like heroes. I don't know how I could imagine doing that for a few days and be like, oh, this is such a fascinating job and I feel purposeful. But after like day 3 of some patient yelling at you or getting the flu for the 9th time, there's so many obstacles in the way, challenges and adversity to overcome. When you walk in the hospital, I've always respected healthcare workers, but man, are they essential and important. I just have a newfound appreciation, I guess, for lack of
So I don't mean to trivialize this in Hollywood terms, but just last night I finished watching season 1 of The Pit.
Yeah. I kind of want to watch some of these things now after spending the week in the hospital. Maybe I should.
Oh yeah. And it's superb. I mean, it's just amazing. And it has characters in there. Not to do any spoilers, but there's a Karen in the last episode who's against vaccines. You know, they have to deal with their own emotions and their anger, and they're losing people and the trauma that is. It's superb because I think you're right, and especially now when health science are under attack by the government institutions associated with them. The more we pay tribute to the courage and intelligence and experience and education that people in medicine have, the better.
Yeah. All really good points, especially just the fact that they're under attack. And anytime they're underappreciated or underpaid or underfunded, absolutely. And I got to watch that show. Somebody at the Golden Globes the other night said, Noah Wiley, you've been my doctor for 35 years. He's just played that one role. What was your comment? Speaking of which, let's get into it. What was your comment about Hollywood needs to do more to show up, to stand up against the tyranny we're seeing? Let's start with that.
So I didn't watch the Golden Globes. I watched part of the Golden Globes, but not enough to come to a blanket assertion about them. And then last night, God bless her, she's the best. Nicole Wallace had on Oliver Darcy, who I think is the best at media coverage and criticism. And she devoted 2 blocks to talking about the dereliction, these are my words, the dereliction of morality, the ethical vacuity of Hollywood. Is that no one used their privilege and position and power on that stage to talk about Nicole Good, to talk about the fascism that we're under, to talk about the things that they used to talk about in these cases. And, it's not just standing up at an awards show and giving a glib comment, not unlike social media. It's also about what is Hollywood making. Back in the day, and I think you and I have discussed this, I think in great measure that Hollywood made gay marriage possible in this country. Hollywood had an impact on civil rights and racial relations in this country. Hollywood's not standing up right now. And I think that cuts across movies, TV, to an extent music, though folks pointed out to me that Tori Amos has an important album coming out. The Boss has been outspoken on this. There's the wonderful Jesse Wells, who's been resurrecting the protest song. So there are moments, but as a whole, Hollywood, I think, is proving to be, again, morally bankrupt. A vacuum. Did you watch the Golden Globes? You were a little busy.
I watched a few clips, but I watched a few clips. I saw Mark Ruffalo, as usual, on the red carpet saying something, and I don't know, maybe the right people didn't win. And the other thing, the question is always, popularity and not stirring the boat. You're going to make more money, be more popular. They would say if you're going to be safer. But at the same time, maybe some of the right people didn't win. Maybe they didn't want to take risk. I'm not excusing any of it. I mean, if only Sean Penn had won, he probably would have said something, right? But also, we're paying attention, maybe too much attention, to the most famous people. But a platform's a platform. You get a huge platform, which is why everybody's always used the Academy Awards or any other award show or any other stage, the podium at the Olympics, to raise a fist, right?
Yeah, and especially if you're a white male, cis, in my case, retired person. And I don't have a platform. I mean, I blather all the time. There's no courage on my part. But if you stand up and use it and cash it in at those moments, it matters. It has an impact. And I'm just sorely, sorely disappointed in our American entertainment leaders.
Let's talk about a few other things, obviously, that we got to discuss. Go from Hollywood to media. A lot is being said about CBS News since it's been taken over by Barry Weiss. It's been kind of gutted of some of the best journalists in the business, for sure, and at least the ones that we see on camera, a lot of the John Dickersons and more. But now you've got this guy, Tony Dokoupil, and he's angry.
Dokoupil.
Dokoupil.
You have to cope with Tony. It's Dokoupil.
And his first week ratings, none too good. Can we blame him, or is that just legacy media, corporate media, the networks? None of them.
It's down almost a quarter from a year ago. I think we can blame him and Barry. I think that they've ruined it. And actually, you would have thought there would have been a lot more curiosity at the beginning. Oh, who's this square-jawed guy there? Gee, it looks like broadcast news. In fact, it had hints of the plot of broadcast news as Tony cried in Miami, showing tears the same way there was a major plot point in that movie. It's a disaster. Katie Couric asked me to write about it. And it is pure state television. It is
really
administration.
It's that overt.
It's that overt. He gives every night. I haven't watched the last 3 nights. I've done my part, but I watched the first 4 nights or so. And I watched last night though with Trump. Every night, it's as if, it's your turn, member of the Trump cabinet. And so Pete Hegseth was on when he jumped on Saturday after Venezuela. Pete Hegseth was on for 3 blocks, 9 minutes, half the show, which is unprecedented in the evening news. And there were wiffle ball questions, and it was just American, chest beating macho bullshit. What a great show this was. And then he has Kristi Noem on, and then he praises Marco Rubio as what a Florida man he is.
I did see that. That was disappointing.
It was very disappointing. So it's been just plain awful, Pete. Barry Weiss, according to the New York Times, is in a panic about it. Is trying to blame all our subordinates. Why can't you make this bad press stop? Why can't you make a good show, Barry? Because you're an idiot. You have no experience at this. Then a few other interesting things come around here. One is that according to, and I don't have, there's not full confirmation of this, but there's a report about Barry pimping CBS, wanting to come up with a Friday segment with Tony and whiskey, and a leaked or made up, you don't know in these AI days, set design came out with Jack Daniels in there, and then Jack Daniels turned out and said, well, "We don't know anything. That's not us." But it's obviously what she intends as a sponsor position with product placement in the news. That's just not done.
Branded segments in the news. Like, I'm Tony Dokoupil and I love Jack Daniels, like live read.
It goes back to the old days where news anchors used to smoke and pimp cigarettes, right? So that's going on. But the fascinating thing, just this afternoon, Katie Tour is on, who of course is Tony's wife. And she was on her regular show, and at the end of the first hour, she did a rather impassioned soliloquy about all the lines that Trump has passed and about how minority MAGA is in charge of the country. And it was as if she was trying very hard to separate herself from her husband and his reputation these days. And that's got to be a very interesting dynamic over the breakfast table, I think, because they each have very different brands now, shall we say. She's on the liberal network, and he is doing state TV.
Yeah, state TV. That's what we're calling it now. Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
It's crazy. It's so sad. Used to love CBS. There's got to be some good stuff left over there.
Yeah.
CBS this morning, Jane Pauley, isn't she? Margaret Brennan seems to taken a turn too editorially with some of her questions, which is really disappointing because I think she's great. But it seems to be that they're all being forced to editorially make changes, not to mention personnel over. I mean, so many changes. It's over. State TV. All right.
My bottom line in the end, I mean, I decried and lamented all that had happened to CBS. And it was interesting writing this for Katie Couric's site because she, of course, was an anchor there. But in the end, I say it doesn't matter. Networks don't matter. Evening news doesn't matter. The median age is 58 at CBS. Audience is down to about 4 million. Walter Cronkite's last year was 16 million. At 4 million, it's barely over 1% of the country watches CBS. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Mass media are dead. Don't matter.
All right. Well, there's the update on Tony Dokapool, Peel, whatever. And it's so weird that he and Katie Tur are married and they are anchors of two major legacy network news broadcasts.
Yeah.
And yet seem to be real different. Well, I'm sure their kids are beautiful. They're beautiful people.
Well, I would imagine. But the other thing is that, and Katie wrote about this in her book, Trump attacked her in all kinds of ways.
Oh, yeah.
In the 2016 campaign. Yeah. And, it's like Marco Rubio forgetting Trump's insults to his own family. Or Ted Cruz, I mean.
I have a chip on my shoulder against Katie Tur because I interviewed her for that book at SiriusXM. And when I called Trump a white supremacist, she pushed back so hard and didn't want anything to do with that being associated with that comment. And I did it on purpose because I figured that would be what would happen. But I mean, I think that's where you separate people. If you couldn't see it then and call it then, covering
Absolutely.
the campaign, then you're part of the problem. I've always felt that way. She's obviously joined the rest of us on Earth One, it would seem, in some ways, although she's not very. I see a lot of criticism on.
Well, she gets lots of criticism from the left. Yeah, and I'm not me. I found it very interesting because it seemed to stand out for her today. She seemed to go to an effort to try to reestablish herself on the left.
Speaking of MS now, you watch a good bit, and you watched Morning Joe, so we don't have to. Mm-hmm. And you said, I saw some rant of yours. I mean, one of the things, folks, just to pull back the curtain, I love following Jeff on social media, on Twitter still, on Blue Sky, Threads. But I then ask him about all these things whenever we talk in our interviews here, our conversations here. And one of the things I saw was that you were ranting about Joe Scarborough is apparently talking about the good old days of republicanism and conservatism, and when are we going to return? Like that's in any way a possible future. What happened? How did he hurt you?
So, on the one hand, Joe's been good. He called it fascism before others did. He has been, ever since Nicole Good, he has been decrying what happened in Minneapolis. He has been pointing out what a terrible thing it is. He's been saying all the right stuff, but it always comes back with him to imagining that there's an ability to recapture his ideal Republican Party. So the quote this morning, I almost said poor Joe, I didn't, keeps deluding himself about recapturing some ideal Republican past. Quote, "This is not Scalia's America right now. This is not Reagan's America. This is not William F. Buckley's America. This is not a conservative's America. Scalia would be horrified by this." I'm not so sure, Joe. And to believe he constantly wants to talk about trying to lecture the Republican Party, bringing back the Republican Party, he just can't see that it's gone, dead, buried, turned into worms. It's over, Joe. Your time was not great anyway. You helped lead to what we have today anyway. You interviewed Trump anyway, but I'm grateful for what he does say when he says it. But then it comes back to this kind of very strange nostalgia, and I don't get it.
Speaking of the Republican Party today, as we speak, I really like this Tony Massey, Thomas Massey. from Kentucky, the congressman, because of where he stood on the Epstein files. And yesterday, somebody criticized him or something, and he just shouted at him. He's like, I'm not going to be part of the pedophile protection ring, of the Republican Party. And it's such a great thing to say. It's a horrible thing. I mean, that we're here, and that's the delineation that you're protecting pedophiles, but he won't go along with it, as won't Marjorie Taylor Greene and some other very quote conservative right-wing Trump supporting until basically this Republicans. And not to mention the fact, and this can be connected to this other story that I was reading about that you're all up on, that Trump was at a Ford plant and a Ford employee called him a pedophile protector, yelled at him. Trump gives him the finger. Ford suspends him. UAW comes out bravely in his defense. What do you make of Massey? What do you make of this, auto worker, and the fact that Epstein files and the idea that the president and Republicans are protecting pedophiles is still not going anywhere?
No, it's not. We're old enough to remember when Epstein was a story, and the tail is wagging the dog in this, and it's being forgotten regularly. And we've got to get back to the point when we're exposing them for this. 1% of the documents are out there in violation of the law about that. Massey is right. I'm curious what you think, whether there is the beginnings of a we hear a lot of talk about splits in the Republican Party and tension in the Republican Party. We don't really see it. We saw with Marjorie Taylor Greene, she bucked him and then she collapsed and left. Massey so far is hanging tough. The Daily Beast had a story today, which I think is pretty ridiculous, and I don't pay for it, so I couldn't see it all. But saying that Vance is putting himself in position to take over because Trump's too old and things are happening in the White House. I don't know whether I believe that for a second. They're still solidly behind him. That's where it is. Right. And you started here with, Epstein. Yeah. So where are they? Where are the files? Where are we going to get back to this? What is in them? And then God bless that UAW worker or that Ford worker who speaks up. Now, mind you, Ford now goes on my permanent shit list. The fact that Ford didn't stand up for their employee, they did not stand up for the freedom of expression of their employee. They just caved immediately. And by the way, Trump did his whole Tony DeCopel interview from the GM headquarters. He wasn't at.
Oh, was that right? Oh,
yeah. So it wasn't like it was just a Ford event. And let's remember, ladies and gentlemen, the heritage of Ford Motor Company and Henry Ford, who was an avowed fascist and racist. And the Dearborn paper that he published and distributed through his dealerships across the country spread Nazi propaganda through the country. You'd think they'd be a little sensitive to their own history. So now they're on my shit list. Hilton is on my shit list because when one, they're all just franchisees. They're not owned by the chain. But when one hotel with the Hilton brand refused the reservations of ICE agents, then Hilton took them off of the Hilton brand and took down the Hilton sign and so on and so forth. So I had a reservation in Austin in 2 weeks in a Hilton hotel. I canceled it. Fuck you, Hilton.
Look at this guy.
And then we got, and not that it mattered, by the way, the bots went crazy on Threads. I'm not much fond of Threads. And
really? I like it over there. Go ahead.
There were 600 comments. They were all fully bot. And then you can tell it's all bots because it just all ended at a certain hour. Boom.
Oh, wow.
It was everything and then it was nothing. And they're going after me. Oh, Hilton's going to be sad. I just made 5 reservations. Oh, you wussy. Fine. And then there's Target, which was already on my shit list because they gave up their DEI projects. They've been hurting from it and they don't learn. And now ICE has been in their parking lots, grabbing people at Target. They've been publicly using the restrooms there, and Target's not doing a damn thing. So I think we have to start. I'm not one to talk about boycotts generally, but we're all going to make our own choices commercially. And I'm telling you, not that I was going to get a Ford, but actually with the Mustang, the electric Mustang, I was tempted by. I was going to go take a test drive. Fuck you, Ford. No. Fuck you, Hilton. Gone. Fuck you, Target. Gone. I actually bought something at Target 2 weeks ago because it was there right there and I needed it. And I felt so guilty. I went back and returned it.
Oh wow! See, that's the kind of moral clarity and
But no,
conscience.
I waited for 3 minutes to do so. It was not a big deal. It doesn't take a lot of moral clarity
Yeah,
to do it.
no, but
But
I mean,
these are the decisions we all have to make.
for sure, for sure. I mean, people have talked a lot about some kind of a national strike, some kind of a national movement, something other than the No Kings protests, to bring some kind of consequences, to make some kind of noise. But I don't know. I don't know what it is exactly going to take. I think it's going to take some kind of for there to be nationwide pressure or nationwide movement stronger than just those of us that are pretty locked in. And I think that there has to be some kind of cost or consequence. And the Vietnam War ended because of the draft more than anything else. And
Yes,
of
because
course,
mothers were pissed about their sons.
yeah,
Yes.
and the fact that it was being covered by the network news and the newspapers, and there wasn't some conspiracy theory podcast telling people that they were all crisis actors or something. But I just don't think that without a cost or consequence to people that aren't paying attention, I just don't know. I still feel bad.
So
Although I will say, like, these videos that are coming out every day are moving people. But as long as there's like a lot of people that say, listen, if you don't listen to the police, or just they like ICE, it's overwhelmingly disapproved of these snatch and grabs, these kidnappings, these assaults, it's the Gestapo. I mean, all that, none of it's too hyperbolic rhetoric for me. And none of the actions, the nonviolent peaceful protests, including putting your car in body or anything else in between these agents, all that's brave. I'm for all of it, but I still feel like people haven't changed their minds enough, no matter how many horrific videos we see. But what do I know?
well, a couple things. One, when Nicole Good was murdered, I looked up Kent State. I'm old enough to remember Kent State. You, son, were not old enough to have lived through Kent State.
I heard what happened.
Right. Okay. You had some history books. And the New York Times had the famous picture on its page one, top of page one, the next day of the student kneeling before a fallen colleague, crying for help. And the next day, that day, when they reported on it, the New York Times had an editorial that, yes, made reference to the students shouldn't have burned the ROTC building or whatever, but that stood out clearly, appalled at the overuse of force, and also said that their reporter did not hear, as was reported at the time by the government, snipers they were supposedly going after, and said that straight out and made that judgment. And the next day after that, came up with another editorial. Now, last I looked, I haven't seen in the last few days, but last I looked, the New York Times editorial board has remained silent on this. And I can argue that editorials and editorial boards don't matter, especially now when there's blatherers like us everywhere. But if you're going to have one, what does it exist for? Yeah. If not to call this out? And the problem I think we're missing, I think there's a lot of people in the country who are pissed. And, you and I went to No Kings rallies and we'll stop buying Fords and whatever, fine. We need critical mass. We need a sense that there's a movement rising. Yeah. And mass media is not good for anything anymore, but it could be good for giving a sense of that movement. And it's not. They don't do it.
Speaking of movements, how much have you paid attention to what's going on in Iran? I mean, I read yesterday that there's some reporting, and I don't believe it. I just can't believe it. That 12,000 to 20,000 protesters have been killed. Like how? Like literally how? What is their cause of death? And then I read it's more like 1,000 or 2,000. Killing any protester is
horrendous. Yeah,
pretty bad. But I mean, you would think that the entire world would act or do all kinds of different pressure on that country or any country that was killing protesters in a systemic way.
Except what did we just do? In our name, a protester was killed. In our name, they're dragged out of cars. We are not very much different from the Ayatollah.
Nobody's going to. I think we're different than the Ayatollah. We have so much power, and we are being run by a crazy person, which is why Europeans aren't standing up against us when we're siding with Russia against NATO, right? And trying to buy Greenland. Like they're worried that there's all kinds of things, all kinds of power that we have. Iran doesn't have that over the world.
No. The Guardian has a column today saying that Europe should cut off all ties with the U.S. That's, shall we say, impractical. But I don't understand. Let's go to this. Greenland. I don't understand why officials of Denmark and Greenland came to the White House. Why are they dignifying this shit? with a meeting.
To tell them to cool it.
Well, they should have done it from a distance, I think. And we're not meeting with you. There's nothing to discuss. Fuck off.
Yeah. What if the people in Greenland want to become an American? Has anybody asked them?
There have been reporters who've gone and done, cold people on the street stories, but I don't know if there have been any polls or not.
It's such a weird move, and it started at the beginning of this administration. I don't think they talked about it. If I recall correctly, it wasn't something that was ever mentioned during the campaign. Like after he got elected, he started talking about taking over, annexing Greenland. Randy Fine, the Republican congressman, this guy's really unhinged. He apparently introduced legislation, the Annex Greenland Act in Congress. What won't they do for him? Why is he doing this, do you think? Just to show more power? Same reason he did Venezuela. He's just a gangster going around the world doing old school gangster shit.
So I'm going to do that obnoxious thing I do occasionally with you on the show, is to try to show off that I took German in high school.
Oh, great. I love this.
And I read an essay in, I think it was, I'm not even sure which to give credit to now. Might have been Der Spiegel, might have been Die Zeit. Arguing that, with some help from Google Translate, I will confess. Sorry, Frau Timoshenko, my German teacher, I didn't pay enough attention.
Huge listener.
Yes. Argued that, and I think we know this, what he wants is attention. And it doesn't matter where the attention's coming from. He just wants the attention. Right. And so that puts us in a bind. What do we do about that? Do we ignore him? We kind of can't. We could ignore, here it is. It was in Die Zeit by Bernd Ulrich.
Oh, Bernd.
Your buddy, Bernd. Donald Trump, this is one word, Aufmerksamkeitsauthoritarianismus. I can't even do it. Sorry, Frate. What he argues is that the point of any of this is not the oil. It's not even Epstein distraction. It's that his sick little psyche needs the attention. Craves the attention.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And I think that's true. And you look with Maduro, he basically came out, and because Maduro mocked his dance, that was it, right? It was
Is that right? Is that really true?
Yes.
Is that reporting?
Yep.
That was
he talked about it. I saw the video. He tried to do my dance.
Rubio probably went over him, but he's mocking you, sir. He's mocking you.
Yep,
exactly. You got to get in there.
Exactly. And people made fun of him for Greenland, so he's going to come back. So it's all about his tiny, tiny little... the irony is he has the world's largest ego and the world's most fragile ego. And it's attention. And my wonky view of this is that Trump is the apotheosis of the attention economy. That I write about this in my book, Magazine, on sale now, that the attention economy, the economics of the attention economy came in 1893, I think it was, when a guy named Muncie, with a magazine named after himself, decided to start selling the magazine at a loss per copy and make it up on advertising. And so what he was selling then was not content to an audience, but an audience to advertisers. And that attention economy has ruled all media, of course, except for movies and books, which sell box office, up until for a century, until the internet came along. And then it infected the internet. And Donald Trump, to me, is the ultimate product of that, right? The TV celebrity. Yeah. He was made for it because he would do anything foolish just to get the attention. That's and they exploited that, and they made him a star, a completely unworthy star. You know, when I was a kid, we had game show. I'm doing Uncle Jeff things today. I'm actually sitting on a heating pad because I fell, and I'm walking like a very old man right now. So I'm feeling old. Come on. In my day, young Pete, we had game shows filled with people who were only famous for being famous. There was a woman named Peggy Cass who was on these game shows, and I don't know what she ever did. I don't think she ever really did anything, but she was on the game shows. And so she was famous enough to be on the game shows, right? And we created this weird notion of celebrity where it didn't matter what you were famous for, you just could become famous.
Sure.
And that is the essence of Trump. That is everything about
Well,
Trump.
certainly the essence of reality shows too. I feel like that was the
Mm-hmm.
beginning of the end during my lifetime, was seeing scripted television turn into reality shows, from
Yes.
Survivor to Apprentice, big money makers. You don't have to pay the actors, and they get better ratings than sitcoms, scripted dramas, and they're cheap. And so we fell for all that, and we idolized like some guy who lived on an island and some loosely or lightly scripted. Same was The Apprentice, very scripted. I was on that show and saw how it was made, and it was very, very popular. And that's why he is thought to be famous, because he's thought to be a successful businessman, because that show made him look like a successful businessman, even though he's a terrible failure in business and a terrible failure as president. Because I mean, so many great content creators, journalists, and others are creating lists of his losses, Jarvis.
Oh, endless. But it doesn't matter. See, that's the thing, is we're trying to, that's part of the normalization. We try to measure this by the standards that we had, right? He says something horrendous. Yeah, he does, to get attention. And he flips the finger. Who cares? He won that, right? He is protecting pedophiles. And so this is like Joe Scarborough trying to recapture the Republican Party. It's people trying to recapture a past that doesn't exist anymore and can't exist anymore. And so we have to build, as a society, new norms from scratch, from the ashes.
I'm into
because
it.
They've been burned down.
I would like to help build the new norms. I'd like to be part of the new norm building. Also got to ask you, what the hell happened with Jerome Powell, the Federal Reserve chairman? The DOJ is like threatening him with like criminal prosecution, and then I was walking out of the hospital the other day. It's so interesting how disconnected I am, but I'm walking through the hallway and I remember watching that video and being astonished that Jerome Powell spoke out in the way that he did and said what he said, but that I don't really know much more than that.
Well, this goes back. This is again a case where Trump was embarrassed when the two of them stood with hard hats on in the Fed's new headquarters, and Trump tried to say that there was this huge overrun, and it's all and Powell, as is his wont, there very subtly shook his head no and corrected him on it in real time, and that pissed off Trump enough that there was no surviving. He was already against him because he wants to lower interest rates, no matter what it means for the economy, no matter what it does to us. I want to get this to catch on. I don't have many things like this. It was the great Carville line. It's stupid. It's the economy stupid. And I want to spread the idea now that instead it's stupid's economy. Everything about the economy is Trump's, and he's responsible for it, right? And the fact that people trust Powell a lot more. So my only point about this at this point is it's obviously a exploitation of our justice system for injustice doing this. But newspapers, looking at this, when they just put up a headline that says that, let me see if I have one here, I don't, that they are trying to investigate, there it is. So hold on a second. Federal prosecutors open investigation into Fed Chair Powell. Well, in a world where most times, the headline is the only thing read, that leaves the impression that there's some legitimate investigation here and that Powell's in trouble. In this case, at least put scare quotes around the word investigation.
That's a good point.
Because you're accepting the notion that the Trump administration has given you that this is a legitimate investigation, and it's not. Trump's investigation is a warning to the next Fed chair, says the Wall Street Journal. U.S. prosecutors launch criminal investigation into Fed's Powell, says the FT. That's irresponsible journalism. We know it's not a real investigation. We know it's a show, and if it goes very far, it'll be a show trial. And
I read something, the headline that they're already backing off.
Well, yeah, because the stock market, and Trump made mention of this, the stock market immediately reacted badly. But then when all the prior Fed chairs and Treasury secretaries and foreign bank heads all said, "What the fuck?" Sorry.
Yeah, rarely do all the central bankers get together on one page and support another. But
so I think that's all that's happening is the market is betting that he's going to have to back off. This won't work. And again and again and again, we see, of course, people having to leave the DOJ because they won't do something that's illegal. But at some point, you run out of decent people at the DOJ. There's nobody left to quit over things. They'll put in scum buckets. And there was a report, was it on Morning Show today, that talked about how, well, but Trump's losing in the courts. Yeah, but I forget who it was, did a very good piece looking not at the district level, but at the appellate level, and how the Trump's appointed judges are ruling for him 90-odd% of the time. I can't remember the exact number.
Oh, I want to know that piece.
So he's bought the judiciary. We know he's bought the Supreme Court. He's bought the appellate level. And so even if good things happen at the district level, it'll get turned over.
You say he's bought the Supreme Court. I mostly agree. Obviously, he appointed 4 of them, but my understanding is that there's also reporting coming out that the administration is panicking because that same Supreme Court, which almost has been overwhelmingly on his side, is going to side against the president's ability to levy all these tariffs, thus putting in a huge hole in his dumb strategy that has destroyed the country from the inside out anyway. So that could be a pretty big deal come, I guess, June, unless it comes out earlier, that decision.
But here's the irony, Pete. If those tariffs went away tomorrow because they were ruled illegal, the stock market's going to go bananas happy. The economy is going to improve. Our prices for some things will go down. There will be more exports. The thing that could happen is it could be the best favor that the Supreme Court gives to Donald Trump, because it could mend what's wrong with the economy right now, which is it's stupid's economy.
Really?
And it's the crap that he's doing.
Have you seen economists predicting that?
No, but hey, they can't predict anything any better than a podcaster, so. I mean, we know how damaging the tariffs are to the economy. And if they went away overnight, we've seen that every time there was a back off on the tariffs, the market went up. So the market's happy with that. And your 401k is going to be in better shape. And we'll see where that goes from there.
I got to ask, anytime there's a question about journalists being prosecuted, the FBI raids home of Washington Post reporter in a highly unusual and aggressive move. That's The Guardian. The FBI searches home of Washington Post journalist in a leak investigation. That's the New York Times. And USA Today, FBI searches Washington Post reporter's home over classified documents. What's this all about? I don't think that's it's pretty unprecedented. And would it be, in quote normal times, a huge story? The FBI
it would indeed be, because they went into her home. They took away her phone, 2 laptops, one of which was a company laptop, the other one her personal one, her Garmin watch, to find out where she's been. And but what they're saying, this is one of those sneaky things. They're saying that Nathanson, I'm trying to find her first name, Hannah Nathanson, is not the target here. That, no, we're not going after the journalist. We're just going in and grabbing everything she has because we're going after somebody we suspect of having had classified documents.
They're going after the leaker in the government, not the journalist. That's what they're saying.
They're investigating Aurelio Perez Lagones, a system administrator in Maryland, who has a top secret clearance and has been accused of accessing, this is where the ad comes in and it moves, of accessing and taking home classified intelligence reports that were found in his lunchbox and his basement, according to an FBI affidavit, says the Post. So they're going to stand back, and they're going to have managed to do a search of a reporter's material and seizure of reporter's material, and they're going to argue, it has nothing to do with the reporter, really. But they will have, that's another line crossed.
Yeah, you're not supposed to do that in democracy. Searches of newsrooms and journalists are hallmarks of illiberal regimes.
Well, hello, there we are. See, that's the thing, is people aren't acknowledging that's where we are. And, the Post has gone so Trumpist. They're going to have to stand up against this, but they're not going to be as strong as they should be, nor will the Times be.
I mean, and furthermore, when they do this, and every journalist in Washington and everywhere else knows that they're capable of doing this, what does that do to journalists' incentives, ability, or sense of security about doing their job? I mean, just the precedent that it sets, I think, is the most important thing. I'm sure, your Timothy Snyder's, Ruth Ben-Ghiat's are talking about, what this means to other journalists, what this signals to other journalists, right?
Well, it's been every important institution in society. Right, so it's medicine, society, it's medicine, science, the academe, law, journalism. They're all under fundamental attack here. And it's first they came for the immigrants, then they came for the LGBTQ people, and then they came for the trans kids, and then finally when they come for Jimmy Kimmel, people pay attention.
Right.
But these other institutions are not standing up, and that's my complaint about Hollywood. Hollywood is an institution, and it should have used its power and privilege in the completely meaningless Golden Globes to have said something. I mean, Nikki is the one who stands out because she made fun of CBS on CBS,
right,
as host, and said that the Department of Justice won the award for most editing, and now people come to CBS. God bless her, right? It was one small little attempt, but all these institutions are under attack. This is very, very different. The American Historical Association, which is historians, academics, had its conference, and on the floor, 2 resolutions were put forward condemning Israel for, and that's a hot button, I know, but they were condemning it for, I think they used the word academicide, that they had destroyed the universities of Gaza, and that there was a problem of freedom of expression about this in universities across the world. Passed a huge number. And then it would go to the Executive Council. Then it could go to all the members, including those who weren't there. The Executive Council killed it. Why? Because they're scared. Because it'll put them in a vulnerable position. So the chill is working, and if you don't stand up to the chill, you're a part of it.
Really important point. Before I let you go, whenever you get to talk to Jarvis, you got to ask him about the latest in tech, which he's always covering, and. You want to you got an AI story you want to mention?
All right, now I got to remember what it was here, Pete.
Where are we in the world of artificial intelligence? This is, you sent this to me.
So there was an interesting paper. So every week I go through and I try to read all the papers I can find that mention AI. I don't read the papers. I read the headlines.
A scholarly paper.
Scholarly papers, yes, preprints. And this is not actually from preprint. This is from a paper from a publication called Minds and Machines. And it argues that using AI for tasks that are fundamentally about communicating is replacing communication with something that is not communication. Well, that sounds like a bunch of, academic talk. But it's interesting because it says that its conclusion at the end is that if the more people use AI to express themselves, and I would have thought that was a good thing in the sense that people who were intimidated by writing or intimidated by presenting could express themselves using these tools to help them. I still think that's the case. But it said that it would raise the bar on communication so high that people would be intimidated from communicating. And in a sense, that's what big old media did back in the day, was that it, in the Gutenberg parenthesis, second plug for the show, on sale now, I talk about how when Montaigne invented the form of the essay, he raised the bar on joining into public discourse. You had to be a writer to speak. You had to be eloquent to speak, in essence, to get attention paid. And that existed up through mass media where you had to know the publisher to speak. And now we have the internet where we can all speak. You and I can sit here and blather on podcast for forever. We have the right and freedom of speech here. But what'll happen, and I'm generally interested in AI, but what'll happen if it affects our sense of our own communication with ourselves? I find these kind of discussions just plain interesting. So that's why it's a rather odd thing to bring in. Okay, I got one more question for you, Pete.
Yep.
And unfortunately, the lights are dimming in the mats there.
Syracuse, New York.
Well, yeah, you're up very north. You're near the Arctic Circle, so it gets darker.
I'm close to the Arctic.
So you're in your boyhood room.
That's right. I'm in my boyhood childhood bedroom right now. Yeah.
I'm very disappointed that he's already taken off the posters that clearly, surely existed on the walls behind him. In your youth, what would have been there, Pete? What were the artifacts of young Pete?
My whole childhood, it was sports. It was athletes, all kinds: football, basketball, lacrosse, skiers. And then when I discovered my penis and its functions, or at
least its desires.
What it wanted. It decided to start decorating with like Sports Illustrated swimsuit women and still athletes. And then I started to introduce actors, and I just vaguely remember, and I think this is the cringiest. I used to cover the bedroom door here with stickers and pictures and stuff. And I had a picture of an actor I really liked. I liked his acting mostly.
Don't tell me it's not David Hasselhoff.
It's not that bad. He's a pretty good actor, but it's still going to shock you maybe a little bit. The actor is Christian Slater. Ooh. I had a picture of Christian Slater on my bedroom door. Sounds like I was confused. I wasn't. I just thought he was cool. I wanted to be like him.
I think you need to interview him on the show. I think
so facing outward, it was, actors. That's what I wanted to be. But inside the sanctuary here, still some actors. But yeah, a lot of like swimsuit. Yeah, that's what it was. I wonder if adolescent boys who like girls still, or anybody else, like still hang up like, scantily clad women.
I wonder too. Yeah.
I don't know if it was ever inappropriate, but
they don't have magazines, really.
Right. Well, they used to sell those posters too, though. There's a place called Spencer's Gifts in the back that all these like toys. As a teenager, you'd love to go in there and you look at the underwear. They had this underwear that two people could wear. Like that would ever be a thing that would be enjoyable. But when you're younger, you're like, oh, this must be awesome. People must be doing this all the time. But they also had the posters. Remember those posters that you could grab and flip?
Well, I'm old enough for Dayglow posters.
I don't know what that is.
Black light posters.
Oh, right. Did they have color ink?
Because that's if you were trying to get across that you were druggy.
Right. No, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, they had those for sure.
Candles.
But you would look at them because it would be like women covered in like suds, like soap suds over their private parts, and that would be it. That would be all that. But that would be as close as you would get to porn, unless you had a friend who his dad had. Like it was just a whole different world. To try to see a woman naked was a lot of work. And once you found one, you kept that picture somewhere private.
All right, so here's my embarrassing.
Right near my old bandits.
There was a literary magazine called Evergreen Review that was a truly literary magazine. It was sold in good places, but it was the 60s, so it had avant-garde stuff. So it had I managed to buy the copy of the magazine. It was a major get that had two women frolicking naked in an auto junkyard. And of course, the headline was autoeroticism.
That's good.
And it opened up a whole new world for me. So are any of these artifacts still there, or were they all expunged at some point? Yeah.
I have a lot of artifacts here. I have a lot of my childhood stuff here, and even at my house. I kept more than I think probably anybody I know. I feel bad for whoever has to clean up after me when I die.
You're a nostalgic guy.
I have like my 5th grade journal. I have
I want a dramatic reading, Pete.
I have progress reports and like detention notices from teachers. Peter is insubordinate, doesn't pay attention. He's always making jokes and trying to get attention for himself. Doesn't realize that he's here to learn. And I was like, I'm not though. I'm there to entertain, Dad. He's like, no, you're not. I'm like, I am, Bob. That's what I want to do. I'm like, all right, then forget math. Write some material. Jeff Jarvis, as always, a pleasure having you.
Good luck with Mom and Dad. I know that your dad's probably upset about all this as well.
He's got it locked down. He's good. He's making more. The dude's working the phones like a talent agent. You should see him. It's unbelievable. He's got a chair riding up the railing of the stairs ordered. He's got a new car ordered. He's noting on my mom's in full control. It's a wonderful dynamic. 54 years these two. Wow. These two kids. Yep. Wow. Wonderful. Yep. Yeah. We're bathing in gratitude.
I know that all of your fans are grateful to them for raising you as a good guy. And so give them, I'll speak for all of your fans to say, give them our love.
I will do that. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, everybody who watched live. And go follow Jeff Jarvis, everybody. Get everything he's doing. Follow everything he's doing. Listen to everything he's doing. It's all in the show notes. And I will see you later. Bye, everyone.